As we meander into the new year, I thought that it would be fun to show off my Ubuntu desktop workstation, or desk station as I like to call it. It's a traditional PC tower purpose-built for gaming, software development, and content creation, so it has lots of cores and lots of memory. It's hardly a powerhouse though. I built it around an old AMD FX 8350, so this is a pre-Ryzen machine. The system is definitely showing its age, complete with SATA errors showing up in the system logs. I suspect I'll be forced to do an upgrade to a Ryzen system sometime this year. The GPU is an NVIDIA GTX 1060 6GB, and I can play all of the games I want with good frame rates and high graphics settings. And I've got a pair of storage devices. One is a Samsung Evo SSD using ext4, and the other is a Western Digital Black using XFS as the file system. Ubuntu uses GNOME as the default desktop, and I love it. My desktop is pretty standard, though I moved the panel to the bottom where it stays out of the way. I also have it set to auto hide, so it really stays out of the way. I have just a small handful of GNOME extensions. One of them is Impatience, which speeds up the window animations. Another one is RunCat, which is a little animated cat that shows the CPU usage. And the last one is a Sound Device Chooser, which basically helps me manage my sound devices and the volume settings. Ubuntu itself is installed to my SSD, but all of my important data lives on my other drive using the XFS file system. Each folder in my home directory is symlinked to another folder on the drive, so the data is portable between installs and isolated if the SSD ever fails. I also have a Nextcloud server running elsewhere, and the data in those symlinked folders are backed up that way too. Now, with the wealth of applications available for Ubuntu and with so many different ways to install them, I wanted to quickly share the apps I use on a daily basis. Firefox is my browser of choice because it seems to do hardware acceleration for video playback and stuff better than Chromium-based browsers for some reason. I used to use Brave, and I'm still a Brave creator, but the Linux build has taken a pretty big drop in quality lately, and I've all but migrated all my stuff to Firefox at this point. For text and document editing, including Markdown stuff, I use good old gedit because it's super simple, it's lightweight, and it does everything I need, and nothing more. For coding stuff, I like VS Code. I've tried to move away from it, and honestly, there are things I don't like about it, but nothing compares to how good it is for just writing and debugging code, so I'm just kind of stuck with it. For graphics and image editing, I use Glimpse, honestly because I like the name and the logo better than GIMP or The GIMP or whatever it's actually called. For audio stuff, I use Audacity, and for video stuff, I use Kdenlive 18.12. Now, there's lots of different ways of getting software onto your computer, and each method is unique, but they all accomplish the same thing a little bit differently. And I use all of them. VS Code is installed as a snap, Audacity is installed as a Flatpak, Kdenlive runs as an app image. I use the format that best suits my needs. For example, the VS Code snap is simply better than the Flatpak version, so that's why I use it. Most of the code I write these days is Bash, Python, or Ruby. Bash is the default shell for Ubuntu, and I like to use static analysis tools like shellcheck, which is available from the default repos. And rather than using the default Ruby and Python installs, I manage them with RBENV and PyENV. Both tools are available from the software repos, but I like to use the upstream GitHub repos because Ubuntu's packages sometimes go stale, and other times they're just configured weirdly. Now, I built my PC with gaming in mind, so I knew I wouldn't have any weird hardware issues when I wanted to play demanding games. NVIDIA has a weird reputation on Linux, but the vast majority of their graphics cards work just fine when you're using the latest official drivers. I prefer to manage my game collections with Lutris, and I've been trying to procure my games from stores like itch.io and GOG, because Lutris and Steam just don't play along together super well, and to be honest, I don't really like the Steam client. For Windows games, I've been using Proton 5.0 lately, because I just haven't had very good luck with the newer versions of Proton, like 5.13 and even 5.21. And for Windows games that just don't work on Linux, like for example Rust, I play it on Windows through Parsec. Parsec is a remote desktop tool built for streaming and gaming. It's kind of like NVIDIA's Game Stream and Steam's Remote Play, but faster and basically way better. So why am I using Ubuntu now after last year I used, I don't know, 4 or 5 different Linux distros? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why Ubuntu and not the other distros? Because I want something, or I really need something, that just works. Are there other distros that are faster or lighter on the resources? Sure. But does that really matter? Especially for my use cases? Unless your hardware isn't supported or it's very resource constrained or something like that, there's little reason to go hunting for a better Linux distro. And let's be honest, there's a lot of people new to Linux that get turned off by the constant noise and bombardment from people telling them to try out this Linux distro or try out this distro or something. And then they get frustrated when something doesn't work and then they can't get support for it. I use Ubuntu because I'm really familiar with it, and I know that if I run into an issue, there's a user or developer out there that has probably encountered the same thing, might even have a fix for it. So what's there not to like about that? So if there's something that I missed or glossed over and you'd like to see me dive a little bit deeper into, let me know in the comments. If you enjoy the work I do and you want to lend a hand or a paw, you can become a patron of mine or follow me on Twitter, or just subscribe to the channel right here on YouTube. And if you like the live streams I do and you want to be notified whenever I go live, hit that notification bell too. I appreciate all your support, and thanks for watching.